The Orioles, who've become my second favorite team because they're torturing the Yankees. Big fan of that. They have the farm system to make any trade they want. They have the players to get anybody they want, but they have been very resistant to do that. They excuse me. They didn't even trade a top 10 guy to get Corbin Burns, which is amazing. Do they make an offer the Tigers can't refuse for Skubal, or is it more likely they get that kind of that secondary? Maybe they bring back Jack Flaherty. Maybe it's the Mets fall out Luis Severino. Like, is that where they more likely go than the big money, the big trade for using their top prospect?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be involved in Garrett Crochet, which is, again, 2 years of control with him beyond this year. I think he's a pretty sizable piece. I think that, listen, the guys that they traded, by the way, in that deal from Milwaukee, Joey Ortiz had an all-star caliber first half as the third baseman for the Brewers, and DL Hall battled injuries, but he's a real premium arm. So it's not like they haven't been afraid to trade good players. It's just that they have so many in the farm system that, if you're just going to line it up and look at the top prospect in every organization, the problem is that most organizations' top prospect isn't as good as the fourth or fifth guy in the Orioles system. So they have a number of players that they'd be willing to discuss. I do think that they're one of the few teams that has the available resources to pry away a player who may not otherwise be available. Skubal is going to be a popular name because Detroit has fallen out of it. They need offense badly. They have very good pitching, but I am highly skeptical that Detroit is going to move Skubal unless you get blown away in a deal. And blown away in a deal means including, if you're the Orioles, probably Jackson Holliday or Samuel Basayo, and I do not see that happening.
True. Now, I'm glad you mentioned Crochet because that's where I was going next. Padres, Dodgers, Yankees, Orioles have all kind of been linked to a trade for him. I mean, there's always that, he's throwing a ton of innings. There's a question if, what he's going to be in the second half because of that, that work rate in the first half. Who do you feel? Do you feel there's a team, okay, that's the more likely team to win these sweepstakes, or does your gut tell you, based on the asking price they've had, the Padres and Dodgers both reportedly tried it, failed miserably in the trade, maybe Crochet is a move this year?
Oh, I think Crochet is getting moved. I don't think there's any better time for the White Sox to move him. He has 2 years of team control after this year. They've attempted to extend him. They haven't been able to. And to your point, I mean, not only has he not exceeded his career total for major league innings this season. I mean, he's thrown more innings this season than he had in his big league career. He has a Tommy John surgery in his recent past. And remember, in his draft year in 2020, he made just one start at Tennessee because of a shoulder issue. So I think they have to move him at this point. I don't know that the value is ever going to be higher, and he's a very good pitcher. But I think, again, you look at the teams that have the deepest farm systems, right? So Baltimore comes into the play in that, and I think it's probably a more likely scenario that they would trade for him over trading for Skubal. I think the Dodgers, because they have the depth of the system. I think the Padres are certainly the most aggressive, and they've recently done a deal for a top-flight starting pitcher with the White Sox. So White Sox should have a pretty good idea of where their system stands. I mean, I think there is a very good chance that Crochet gets moved. I never want to say anything definitively, right? Because you never know what's going to happen. Anything can go wrong either way in the next 12 days. But I do think that there's a very good chance that he gets traded. And I think you're looking at those teams that have the best farm systems as being the ones most likely, in part because you're trading for a starting pitcher for the next 2 years. This year, the question is, are you trading for a starter or are you trading for a reliever? From that standpoint, the Dodgers might be the best fit for Crochet for him this year. Baltimore could use a little help in the rotation, but really they get very thin in the rotation next season after Corbin Burns and John Means hit free agency.
Yep.